You ever wake up thinking your day's gonna be smooth sailing, just peace, a hot coffee? The kind of morning where the mountains sparkle and you feel like you might finally be ahead of the curve. That was me. Until I looked down my driveway and saw Margaret Davidson standing there right at my gate, wrapped up in this ridiculous white puffer that made her look like a marshmallow crossed with a traffic cop. Clipboard in hand, lips pursed so tight it looked painful. That's when I knew my so-called peaceful mountain life was about to go straight to hell. I'd just gotten back from checking the north boundary on my old ski-doo, tearing around my private trails, 120 acres of my own Colorado woods near Greenidge, if you want a picture, but a world away from town. Sun's bouncing off the snow, I'm feeling alive. Until I see her Honda CR-V sitting there like some official checkpoint. "Jack Fuller," she yells, using that HOA president voice, you know, the kind that's all honey until it curdles. "We need to talk about your violation of community standards." I cut the engine slid off my helmet. "Morning to you too, Margaret. What rule did I break this time?" She checks her clipboard like she's got the 10 Commandments printed on there. The Ridgeview Mountain HOA held an emergency meeting. There have been multiple complaints about noise pollution from snowmobiles on the trails behind Ponderosa Ridge. The board has voted to ban all motorized recreational vehicles operating within the community boundaries. Now, I probably should have let it go, but something about her smugness lit a fuse. "Margaret, those trails are on my land, nowhere near the HOA's common areas." She pushes her glasses up, doing that thing where she looks over them like you're some slow kid in school. "If you refer to page 47, subsection 3, any activity on private property affecting the peaceful enjoyment of other homeowners falls under our jurisdiction. The noise from your snowmobiles carries down to the luxury cabins. Owners have complained." I walked up close, so close she had to crane her neck. "Let me get this straight. I can't ride a snowmobile on my own land because someone a quarter-mile away might hear a distant engine." "The covenants are clear, Jack. This community was built on tranquility." Then she hands me an official letter, logo and all. "You have 72 hours to cease all snowmobile operation or we'll begin levying daily fines of $500. At that point, my good mood evaporated faster than whiskey on a campfire. "Those cabins on Ponderosa Ridge, Margaret, remind me how many are vacation rentals." Her mouth gets even tighter. "That's not relevant. I think it is, since you and a few others rent your places out for a premium all ski season. All that marketing about quiet mountain retreat. Am I wrong?" She snaps, "Board members' investments have nothing to do with this." "Right," I said, "and I'm Santa Claus." She storms off, heels crunching in the snow, leaving me with the letter and a headache. 5 years ago, I bought this land specifically to get away from HOA drama. Ridgeview was just a handful of homes back then, nothing fancy, just folks who liked the outdoors. My property connects to the community by one single private road, the same road that by pure luck is the only winter access to those luxury cabins. I built my own trail system, mapped it to avoid wildlife areas and avalanche spots, run snowmobile tours for a living. And yes, sometimes I ride for the sheer joy of it. But now, because some weekenders can hear a snowmobile if they stand outside holding their breath, I'm public enemy number 1. Inside, I read the letter. It's worse than I thought. Acoustic pollution standards fines, starting at $500 a day, escalating to $2,000, and a threat to lien my property if I don't pay. All based on a rule change I never got notice for. I called Tom Henderson, my lawyer, the guy who helped me buy this place. "Jack," he says, "I warned you about being inside the HOA line. You said my rights were safe as long as I wasn't doing anything illegal." That's true. But HOAs in Colorado get a lot of leeway. "When was your last meeting?" "Maybe 2 years ago. I quit when I realized Margaret runs the show." That's how they got this passed. They sent a single-page notice. Did you get it? I dug through my junk mail pile, and sure enough, there it was, buried with grocery coupons. So technically they had covered their bases. Tom said, "Don't escalate. Ride if you must, but don't rub it in." Sound advice, but it still burned. I took groups out early, kept my head down, hoped it'd blow over. Third day, I'm wrapping up a tour with a family from Texas when a sheriff's car is waiting at the trailhead. Deputy Chris Martinez. He's friendly, but he's not here to chat. "Jack, HOA's filed a complaint accusing you of violating a cease and desist. On my own property, Chris, I'm licensed, insured, have all county permits. The HOA has no jurisdiction." He shrugs. "Not my call, but they want your business permit revoked." That's when I knew it wasn't about noise. Margaret wanted me shut down pure and simple. I called Tom. He sounds troubled. Jack, did you know your main access is an HOA easement? Now, no way. It's a county road. Used to be. 15 years ago, the county dumped maintenance on the HOA. They now control winter access. Your land sits at the end of that stretch. Your alternate is 12 miles of unplowed forest road practically impassable. That cold feeling in your gut, I had that. So what do I do? Tom laid it out, fight in court months, dollars, or try to negotiate. Maybe limit snowmobile hours routes. I shouldn't have to negotiate to use my land. I know, but there's practical and there's just. That night I didn't sleep. Margaret and her crew wanted me gone so their renters could have peace and quiet, and they'd make more money. Staring at the survey maps, I noticed something. The easement road to Ponderosa Ridge cuts through my property just 200 feet, but it's my land. The HOA has an easement, but the dirt itself belongs to me. I had a wild thought. Next morning, I'm in Tom's office. What if I need to do legitimate work on my property where that road crosses? You'd need to give notice, arrange alternate access. But if it's for real safety or maintenance, you can block it temporarily. What if there's avalanche risk? Tom grins. If it's real, you'd be covered. But if it looks like payback, they'll bury you. So let's do it right, I said. We brought in Dr. Patricia Chen, a geotechnical engineer from Denver. She spent a day with her gadgets, then told me, Jack, you were right to worry. The slope above the road's unstable. If you get a heavy thaw, that's a problem. She wrote a formal report, recommended barriers drainage. 3 to 4 weeks of work. Full road closure. We filed for county permits. Tom drafted a formal notice for the HOA. I delivered it to Margaret myself. She answered the door in yoga pants, holding a glass of Chardonnay. Jack, have you come to comply with our order? Nope. Here's notice. That road's closing next week for emergency safety work. Her face went from pink to purple. You can't do this. Actually, I can. Permits engineers report the works. You should have seen her hand shaking, yelling about her bookings. Safety comes first, Margaret. Enjoy your evening. As I walked away, I heard her on the phone already calling for reinforcements. The days that followed were chaos calls from HOA lawyers, threats, even an attempt to get an emergency injunction. Judge tossed it out. The safety concerns were real and documented. Construction started just before President's Day weekend peak rental time. Suddenly, no access to Ponderosa Ridge. Renters canceled. Owners lost money, lots of it. Richard Peaton, board member, called me personally. Jack, maybe we were too hasty. Can we find a compromise? Can't do it, Richard. Safety first. Unless you lift the ban on my trails. The board can't just reverse it. And I can't ignore avalanche danger. He hung up. Margaret tried one more time, showing up at the worksite, yelling about lawsuits, calling me a saboteur. I rolled down my window, coffee in hand. I'm doing safety work, Margaret. Legally. You're welcome to try whatever you want. She stormed off, promising war. Tom told me to play it straight. Make sure the crew did exactly what was permitted. No delays, no games. That first week, the work went fast. Word spread, HOA had to refund thousands to renters' owners, furious. At the next emergency HOA meeting, I walked into dead silence. Margaret tried to paint me as the villain. But then Frank Martinez, a longtime homeowner, stood up. Board's overreaching. Snowmobiles are part of mountain life. Also seems like a conflict of interest for board members with rentals to push bans. The crowd murmured. Margaret tried to gavel him down but lost control. People sided with me. Within a week, the news picked it up: small business owner versus greedy HOA. Public pressure mounted. A recall petition circulated. My crew kept working snow fences, rock barriers, drainage, all by the book. Margaret doubled down, filing complaints with county code enforcement. Inspector Davis came by, looked over Dr. Chen's report, and the work plan said everything checked out. Frankly, we're getting a lot of complaints from your HOA president, he said. It's looking like harassment. With that, Tom pushed to file our lawsuit: improper covenant revision, targeted harassment, interference with business, conflict of interest. It made the news again. Other homeowners came forward, stories about fines, selective enforcement, board members benefiting personally. 3 weeks in a blizzard hit, halting construction. Then Tom called Jack. They just suspended the snowmobile ban. Board scared of the lawsuit and the recall. I should have felt on top of the world, but it all felt too easy. What's the catch? No catch. They're backing off for now. The construction finished, slope secured. I reopened the road, watched the first SUV roll through, probably a Ponderosa Ridge owner checking on their investment. The HOA went silent. At the court hearing, the judge wasn't having any of the drama. Mediation before trial, she ordered. The board's lawyer offered to exempt me from the ban, pay half my legal fees. Tom pushed for more, rescind the ban for everyone, full reimbursement, recognition of property rights. The judge turned to me. Do you want to punish the HOA or move on? I wanted both, but mostly I wanted assurance this wouldn't happen again to anyone. The judge set up mediation not just for me, but to address board accountability. Right then, the recall succeeded Margaret Richard, and the rest were out. Frank Martinez, the guy who stood up at the meeting, got elected president. The new board rescinded the ban, reimbursed my fees, and with Tom's help wrote new language into the covenants protecting homeowners' rights to use their land unless there was real harm or a violation of county law. I saw Margaret one last time. She looked like a shadow of herself, blamed me for ruining her business. I told her straight, "You tried to ruin mine first." She didn't answer. Frank promised things would be different. Over the next months, they were. I ran my tours. The board handled actual community needs. Margaret sold her cabins and moved away. That to me was karma. Funny thing, when the snow melted, a slide did hit the area next to my reinforced slope. Thanks to Dr. Chen's work, no one was hurt. I upgraded my snowmobiles to quieter models, partly for business, partly because, well, why not? Life moved on. People asked about the story, tourists, neighbors, even other folks fighting their own HOA battles. I'd always downplay it, but I was proud, not just for winning, but for forcing real change. A year after Margaret's first visit, Tom texted, "HOA board commends you for your safety improvements." Frank said they'd use me as an example of responsible land stewardship. How's that for a turnaround? The best part wasn't even the win. It was knowing I'd stood my ground, not just for me, but for everyone. Tired of board bullies who think power means they can do whatever they want. If you've ever had someone show up with a clipboard acting like they own you, let me tell you, sometimes it's worth the fight. Not just for the result, but for the principle. Your home, your business, your rights. Those things matter even if the world tries to tell you otherwise. You might lose sleep, spend money you don't want to, take some scars along the way. But standing up for yourself, that's something nobody can take from you. Now let me ask you, where's the line between community and control? Should a handful of people get to dictate what happens on your own land just because they own a rental down the road? Would you have fought or caved to the pressure? Drop your own story or opinion below. Don't hold back. And if you ever find yourself staring down, Margaret, remember, you're not alone. Sometimes justice shows up in a snowstorm and karma wears a puffy white jacket.